everything right. And yet my habits made me feel worse. Now, I'm not saying that habits are bad, that these particular habits are bad. They helped me and they probably help you too. I did the right things. I was consistent. I was disciplined. I felt good right up until I didn't, until I realized that they were more harmful to me than they were actually making me feel better. So today I'm sharing with you the 3 ways I harmed my health by doing the right things and show you that just because it's deemed healthy doesn't mean it is for you, and that you can step away from these habits or these rules or these ideas that are not serving you so that you can find your own way. I'm Julie. I am a women's wellbeing coach and personal trainer, and I am here to help you build habits that fit in with your real life, not the fantasy one that diet culture tries to sell you, the one where we untangle the noise and we rethink what healthy actually means and make change that feels doable, calm, and genuinely yours. So, my first habit that I had that I was very, that I thought I needed to do because I needed to have more control was to track everything. And that includes calories, your sins, my points, all these targets that I needed to reach. I was using these to outsource my decisions around food. I was eating these things because this book told me to, because this app told me to, because this club told me to. I was eating what they wanted, when they wanted, and how much they wanted me to eat. On paper, I was absolutely doing the right thing. I was within my calories. I was following that those healthy extras and those targets and those points. I was absolutely doing it right. But my body was constantly second guessing itself. Now, I have PCOS, so I really need to pay attention to what my hormone levels are doing on a day to day basis. But with that comes these hunger that just can't be satisfied. You Some days I can't eat the calorie targets that I'm supposed to be eating because I'm just not hungry enough for it, or I can't feel that sensation. So I get fuller quicker. And it's like, and this changes from days to day. So I remember trying to get in all of the protein that I needed to hit, all of the calories that I needed to hit based on the fact that I was running 3 times a week and strength training 5 times a week. And I was trying to hit all of these targets, but I just felt horrible all of the time because I was just full all the time and it was uncomfortable and it was harming me more than anything else. And the longer I tracked these things, these external ideas, the less that I trusted myself. My hunger felt like unreliable, like, oh my God, I can't trust myself. I need to be eating 3,000 calories a day because this is how much I'm training. I need to be eating this much protein because this is how much I'm training. So fullness felt really confusing. Like I should be doing this right. I should be able to do this right. And if the app says I was over, I would ignore my body and I wouldn't trust it. And if it says that I was eating under, then I would keep on eating because I needed to reach my calorie target. And like I said, it made me feel horrible. My body became something almost that I needed to manage rather than something that just was, right? We all have this, well, many of us believe that our body can't be trusted. Like we have to have these diets, we have to have these rules because I can't be trusted around these things. I can't be trusted around food. I can't be trusted not to exercise if I don't have these rules to follow, disregarding the fact that actually we might need rest today. So it's like, but what we don't pay attention to when we follow these rules is this, especially in women's bodies, is these hormone fluctuations that quietly affect us and we feel disconnected from them. So we don't know, or we disregard what our hormones are up to this week, what stress does to us, this load that we have as women, and how all of that affects us and ultimately our long term health. But we don't consider that to be important enough because we have to follow these rules. And the I followed the rules and I followed them hard and I stuck with it. And I like probably tried to make it more complicated as well because I'm not doing very well at this. So how can I make it harder? How can I restrict more food? How can I work out more? How can I do this by somebody else's rules? And, I absolutely assumed that the problem was me because it can't be anybody else because these things work for everybody else. So why aren't they working for me? It must be a personal failure of mine, except it's not. It's the rules that we follow that are the failures because we're not making them fit in with our life. When we're eating food, our body knows when it's hungry and when it's had enough. It knows what it needs. We just don't pay attention to it enough because we have been taught that we can't be trusted around it, that we have to have all of these external rules on us in order to build this relationship with food that we so desperately want to have, but we don't trust ourselves enough to actually remove them all and trust that we will get the hang of this. I will figure this out. And I remember the moment that that my brain just completely lost it with counting calories and foods. And there's two of them, and I'll get to the second one in a minute. But the first was like, I'm trying to feed my body more food than it actually needs, but I'm sticking to the rules of what it is that I should be doing. And, I purposely tracked my calories while I was trying to learn my hunger and my fullness so that I could see, like, realistically, where is it that my body sits? Because I'm trying to do this, but my body actually doesn't need that much and it is happy at this. But according to the rule books, that's not enough and I'm under eating. So once we once we stop outsourcing this idea that somebody else gets to control, or somebody or something else gets to control what it is that we put inside our body, then everything just becomes a little bit easier. And I'm not saying that journey is easy because it is not. Learning to remove those rules is hard. Learning to trust yourself after so many years, decades of dieting is hard. But you get to build this awareness of yourself first. You get to trust yourself in your body that it does actually know what it's doing. It's designed to keep you alive. It's not going to purposely let you starve yourself. But we've forgotten how to trust ourselves around food without all of these external ideas of what we should be doing. And now, personally, and in the work that I do, I help women to reconnect to their hunger and their fullness and their energy. And we put it into context of instead of chasing these numbers that were never designed for women's bodies anyway, like most of the health and fitness. It's slightly better now, but they were never designed for women's bodies, hormonal bodies. So we change how you're eating, we get rid of these rules, and we take each day as it comes. Some days you might be more hungry, some days you might not be hungry. We put it into context of what's going on. Is the period coming up this week when we might be a little bit more hungry? And we might want to be craving more sort of like certain types of food. All of this is okay because none of this stuff that is happening in our body is going away anytime soon. So we need to learn how to go about this health stuff like on our own terms, working with us as the unique human being that we are. This is what we want. So instead of chasing numbers and trying to reach all these targets, if we just pause for a second and just think, is this actually helping? And what can I do differently? How can I make this work for me? By all means, count your calories, but figure out what it is that your body needs. How much of certain type of food does your body need, not what somebody else tells you that you need to be doing. And the second one is this list of good and bad foods. I have always been taught, like I didn't start dieting until I was in my early 20s. So I was probably later than many others. And I didn't have any body image problems when I was sort of like in my teens. So I was like a late entry into the diet world, to say the least. But when I did, I started learning how to group my food into categories, like the good food, the bad food, the clean food, the naughty food, the healthy extras, the sins, Satan's food, instead of it just being food. Today, my body needs this. Today, my body needs that. My body needs this type of food. It doesn't need so much of this type of food. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is that I sort of like eat in like my groups, because my body is different to yours, and it's not helpful for me to tell you that. But I have learned that certain types of food just don't agree with me at all. And that's okay. So I eat them a little bit because certain parts of my body still need to have that food, just not in the extent that we are typically taught how to eat our portions of foods, this sort of like right balance of food. So, you know, these good foods, bad foods absolutely seem helpful at first. They create this clear guidance of what it is that you're supposed to be doing, which is fine when you are learning about this stuff, when you're trying to create more balance. It's fine to have, like, okay, so I absolutely probably shouldn't be eating lots of this high energy, easy to eat food, and I should be eating more of like the healthy end of it. It's fine to have these kind of guidelines guiding you, but we shouldn't have them as rules. And because when we create these rules, we tend to think less, but it turns food into this morality. Like, I am good because I ate this, and I'm good or I'm bad because I ate this thing. It's like it becomes whether we are a good person or not. Food is just food. Food is there for comfort. It is there for energy. It is there for socializing. It is there. We cannot avoid it. But we want to reduce this guilt driven eating that we have, because once food becomes part of a morality thing, it's I'm a good person, I'm a bad person, it becomes emotional. And when we are emotional and we use food for comfort, our emotional eating becomes even worse. Instead of, and we believe that when we desire certain types of food that are on this bad list, then that means we must be a bad person. Why can't I stop eating this stuff? And it's this unhelpful cycle that we have. And then when we feel this enjoyment, when we're out socializing with friends and we're eating and we're having a good time and we've had sort of like dinner and a pudding and cocktails, and we feel like a failure. Like, is that really how we want to be viewing food? Do we want to feel like a failure most of the time that we eat? Do you want to feel like we're a good person or a bad person whenever we eat? We just want to eat, right? We don't want to have all of these rules around us. And, you know, when we have guilt, we even like have guilt sneaking in when we're doing healthy things, not necessarily even like doing unhealthy things, because we start to judge ourselves every single time we eat. Am I eating too much? Am I not eating enough? I'm under eating, therefore this must be a good thing. Or I'm overeating because I'm feeling, because it's above what it is that I'm supposed to be having. And like every single decision around food, healthy, unhealthy, just becomes loaded with guilt. So when we demonize food, the trust that we have with ourselves also disappears. But it's not just about the trust with our food. It's that trust with ourselves. And this is partly where the struggle comes from, is because we have stopped believing in ourselves that we can actually trust ourselves around food or trust ourselves around these things that we want to do, because we don't believe that we can do it on our own. We don't believe that we can make the right decision for ourselves when it comes to our eating behaviors. And when we feel bad about ourselves, we might turn to food to emotionally comfort that feeling, which then reinforces I can't be trusted around food. See how that cycle works? Just because we have this like invisible mental list telling us what foods are good and what foods are bad. So I tried to eat better. I tried to avoid all of those foods, and I restricted like the variety of foods that I was having because they weren't allowed, and I was only allowed a certain amount of this and only a certain amount of that. And I told myself that this was discipline. I told myself that I was being good, when in actual fact, it was harming me more than anything else. It wasn't helping my health because I developed an even more unhealthy relationship with food. In order to fix my relationship with food, I actually made it worse by following all of these good food, bad foods, putting foods into this kind of color coded categories, whatever it is that we choose to label food as. Ultimately, for a lot of people, I'm not saying for everybody, because lots of people do very well with counting calories and at clubs and having that structure. But I think what we really need to be asking is this actually helping my relationship with food? Am I eating food and there not be any sort of like guilt attached to it, or shame or embarrassment, or whatever it is? That's the question we should be asking with food. Is this actually helping, or do I believe it is helping because somebody else says that I should do this? So I ultimately removed the morality out of food. Food is just food. And I stopped labeling it as being good or bad or clean or naughty or not allowed to have this or I shouldn't eat this. And I just ate. I just ate what my body was asking me to eat. I created this balance to what my body needs it to be. I have my fruit and vegetables and my meat, and I have some carbs and I have some fats, and I just eat. I just decide and I just eat. And then I follow my hunger and my fullness to decide whether I've had enough or whether I need food, or whether I've had enough food. And that's almost as simple as it gets. When you take away that emotion, when you take away those thoughts about good and bad food, eating just becomes so much easier. But when I was following that good and bad food, it was creating this situation where everything was just hard. Everything just felt challenging. And I wasn't getting anywhere, not really, because my relationship with food wasn't improving, which was the point, which is also, why I didn't start with food when I first started exercising. I'd started because of my mental well-being, but the food didn't come until much later because I knew that would be the hardest. And in order to solve that problem at that time, I chose to add more rules and more restriction, which wasn't helping. So I had to untangle all of that, take it back to the absolute basics, like, okay, how is this going to work? And I remember the moment that my brain just went, no more, no more rules, Jules. And my group exercise lady at the time said, right, these are a list of foods that you can and cannot have, and don't have fruit after midday. And my brain just went, what? But it's fruit. But you're not allowed to have fruit after midday because it's like high in sugar and stuff. And I was just like, my brain just went, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I cannot have these rules if I'm not allowed to eat fruit in the afternoon, and fruit is healthy and everything that I've been told is about eating your fruit and vegetables. But there's now restrictions and time element to when I can and cannot have this food. My brain just went, nope, we need to find another way to have a better relationship with food rather than constantly taking away all of the time. And number three, my third habit was my work harder mentality to exercise. We're praised for pushing harder, for grinding, for no pain, no gain, or go hard or go home, doing more. And exercise is framed as something that you earn these results through, no matter how tired you are. If you're not at the gym, then you are just lazy. If you're not working out, I saw something the other day, a post from somebody that said, if you're not exercising over the Christmas week, then something like you're lazy. It wasn't those exact words, but I just thought, this is the problem. This is the problem when we put such restrictions or such emphasis on exercise, 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 and not rest. Our body needs to have rest. You're not lazy for resting. Some weeks are not going to be an exercise week, and that's absolutely fine. But scaling back that, having that rest somehow feels like a failure, yet it is what your body is asking for, is what your body needs, is what your brain needs sometimes, and that's perfectly fine. I developed a underactive thyroid sometime before the pandemic hit, and my ability to be able to exercise just went down the drain, literally. And it started by me not having enough energy, like I could barely stay awake during the day. And I would go to my CrossFit class at the time, and it would take me an entire week to recover from that class. Now, I'd been exercising for 7 years up until that point. So my body was perfectly capable of doing this work. And yet there was something going on. I didn't realize what it was at the time, but there was something going on that meant that my body wasn't recovering. It was so intense that my body physically could not recover from it. Later found out that it was a underactive thyroid. But that one session a week would wipe me out for the rest of the week. And when I say I was tired, I was tired. Like, I would wake up and I would do the school run and I would come back and I would basically be asleep on the sofa because I just didn't have the energy. So, we, on paper, I was doing all the right things. I was doing the exercises. I was working hard. I was running 3 times a week. I was at the gym 5 times a week. I was doing all the right things. But my body was saying, no, something's wrong. And this is where we struggle to like make a peace of ourselves over this. We tend to think that we need to work out every single day, that we need to do all of this stuff if we want these results, and we need to do this all of the time. But having that mentality of work harder, keep going, this is, you are capable of doing more than this, actually did more harm for me, because I was physically exhausted. I was, like, not necessarily ashamed, but I was embarrassed. I was frustrated that I couldn't do it. But also I was completely disconnected from what was going on, because I was kept pushing harder, try different things, try more things, like blah, blah, all of this stuff. I was trying to do it, but I just couldn't, because I refused to listen to what my body was telling me. I mean, I had no choice in the end but to listen, because it was very loud and clear that there was something bigger going on. But I tried to push through it anyway. I told myself that I just needed to stop being lazy. I just needed to be tougher. I needed to be more motivated. I needed to have more discipline. Even when I couldn't stay awake for more than sort of like 2 hours in the morning, I still told myself that there was something, like, that it was a personal failing of mine. And it's not. My body was just telling me something, and I wasn't listening very well to it. So I eventually put a pause on all of that. And instead of asking how much I can do, I started asking what it is that I can do right now. At the time, it was absolutely nothing, nothing at all. I couldn't do anything for months until that got sorted. But it is asking, what is it that my body is capable of doing right now? Instead of what should I be doing, or what was I doing, or what do other people expect me to be doing? What can I do right now in this week? And that might change from week to week. You might do 3 weeks of, like, 3 days a week, 3 days a week at the gym, and then one week of just going for a walk or not even doing anything at all. Because when we want to fit exercise, when we want to become an exerciser, we need to almost, the same way that we create these habits around food, we need to make sure it fits in with our life. And if we are overdoing it, we cannot sustain that. We want to be able to sustain it. So for me, that looked like I just signed up for a gym spa at my local hotel, and I basically just swam and sat in a hot tub and in the steam room for, you know, oh God, I think I did that for about 6 months, because I knew that I wanted to do something, but I needed it to be calmer. I needed to be less stressful until my thyroid was adjusted back to roughly where it needed to be, until I could even attempt to do anything else. That's what I needed. Did I feel like a failure? Absolutely, I did. And that's fine, because I know that that's just that guilt, or that pressure, that outside pressure for me to be doing more than what my body is actually capable of doing right now. So now I train women to listen to their body, to work with their body, and not to fight against it all the time. Because if you're fighting against your body all of the time, you are the one that's always going to, you're just going to lose every single time. There's a difference between having one of those thoughts like, oh God, I really don't want to do this. And you having to pluck a little bit of willpower out of your system to be able to get and do it. And your body genuinely saying, I can't do this anymore. So now I teach women to um, use strength training as a support for your body, for your mental well-being, and movement as something that is joyful, that builds your life instead of draining it, and to find a better relationship with food that doesn't feel like you are having this mental battle every single time you eat. Like, we don't want that. That's not fun. But those 3 habits are the ones that I have completely turned around and now teach, because I think they are extremely important. I think they're the most common ones with women in particular. We feel this pressure to be just right all of the time and totally disregard our own needs, our body's needs, our mental well-being needs. So all of these habits have 3 things in common, and they are about this lack of trust that we have learnt about ourselves. It's like somebody else, this external thing, is controlling what it is that our body is supposed to be doing. So we have removed this trust and replaced it with somebody else's like control over it. That might be a bit of a dramatic way of putting it, but essentially we are trusting somebody else to tell us what our body should and should not be doing, how it should be feeling, how much it should be eating and how much it shouldn't be eating. And you know, I do things differently now in my work and in my life, and I teach health that helps real people in real bodies with real hormones, and it is calm and it is adaptable, but most importantly it's human. And I think when we follow all of these kind of structured things, a lot of it misses out the human aspect of it, where we have these thoughts and life and kids and work and housework and shopping and cooking and cleaning and washing, and all of this stuff misses out that stuff. And I think that's incredibly I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for there, but it's incredibly like demotivating for us, because we think that it's our problem, that we are the problem, not that we have all of this stuff, but now we expect our health and our fitness and our eating to be the most important thing when we already have all of this stuff around us to do. So this isn't about doing less for the sake of doing less, and it's not you're being lazy. It's not because you're lazy. It's about doing what actually works for the long term. Like, so setting yourself up to create this healthy lifestyle that you can live for the rest of your life, not just for the summer or for that holiday or for the next 3 months. That's what we want to do. We want to remove these habits that we believe are healthy for us, but actually aren't actually working for us, because we are not thinking about how these fit in with our lives, our likes and our dislikes, and what our life is in this particular season in life. What I did 7 years ago isn't working for me now. It's changed. And that's okay, because I'm human, and I've got, especially I'm a female human, and my body changes and it adapts, and things go all over the place all of the time, and that's fine. So don't forget to just to subscribe, and you can even join me in Healthy Made Easy, where I guide you to find your own version of healthy on your own terms. So until next time, my lovely, take care of yourself.